In this video, we will configure a site-to-site VPN tunnel between our PAN appliance and a Cisco iOS router shown in our network diagram. The way we'll configure this VPN tunnel is a new way to configure IPSec VPN, but using a virtual tunnel interface or a VTI. This will allow us to extend our OSPF routing within our LAN across this VPN to the other side. Configuring standard VPNs in the past, this capability was not possible, but this is what we will set up in our network to extend OSPF everywhere. First things first, let's bring up our Cisco iOS router, which is already connected with basic configuration. We configure the interfaces and we can view the status of these interfaces before we continue. And here they are. So as you can see that our LAN interface is Fast Ethernet 01. Just right here, and our WAN facing interface is Fast Ethernet 00. And as you can tell, these two interfaces are up and running. Let's now begin the VPN configuration on our Cisco router. And the first thing that we need to configure is the IPSec policy. And this here is what that configuration looks like. So the IPSec policy is part of a two-step process. There's phase 1 and there is phase 2. Now, phase 1 involves IPSec, which deals with managing the security keys between our two VPN peers. It will build a bi-directional security association, or a SA channel, between the two VPN peers. In this IPSec policy, we need to define the authentication method, which will be pre-shared. Another method can be using certificates. Next, our configuration will include the encryption and hashing algorithms that will be used. We will use AES 128-bit encryption and SSH hashing for integrity checks on our VPN. Next, we will define the Diffie-Hellman group, which will be group 2, and this deals with establishing a shared secret key using public and private keys for this established IPSec tunnel. Then we will define the IPSec pre-shared key along with the WAN IP address of our PAN firewall. Now, what's important here is that this IPSec key and policy must match what we will configure on our firewall. If they're not matching, then the VPN will not come up. Okay, let's go ahead and copy all of this configuration here, and let's apply it directly to our router in the configuration mode. Okay, that has been configured, and very quickly, the pre-shared key that we are going to use is simple. It's Cisco 123, and of course that key needs to be the same on our firewall appliance. Next, we'll get into phase 2 of the IPSec VPN tunnel, and this here is the configuration that we're going to apply next. Let's quickly talk about this. So in this phase, it will build two unidirectional IPSec SA channels, which are used for all data communication. So first, we will define the IPSec transform set policy, which will define the encryption and hashing algorithms. Like the IPSec policy, we will use AES encryption and SSH hashing. This policy will then be associated to a IPSec profile along with enabling our VPN for PFS Group 2. Let's go ahead and copy all of this configuration here. And let's paste this into our router. And last, we'll configure the virtual tunnel interface. And this is the configuration that we have prepared and we'll copy and paste. So in this configuration, we will create a tunnel interface and we will define an IP address subnet that will be used between our firewall and the Cisco router. In our design, this router will use 10.99.1.2. Our firewall will be configured for .1. Next, we need to define the source WAN IP address of our router, and the destination will be the WAN IP address of the firewall. Next, for the tunnel mode, we will specify IPSec for IPv4 traffic. And last, we will associate our IPSec profile to this tunnel interface. Let's go ahead and copy all of this configuration and apply it to our router. Great, so we're finished with the VPN configuration, and we can see that the tunnel interface has come up and that IPSec has turned on. Before we enable OSPF routing across our VPN tunnel, Let's confirm if everything works. To keep things simple, we will add a static route for routing to the networks behind our PAN appliance. And this here is the static route that we're going to add to our router. So this will reflect the summarized network of 172.17.0.0. This will make up our user network and our server network. The next hop will be the IP address that we will configure on the tunnel interface on our PAN appliance, which will be 10.99.1.1. Very simple. So let's go ahead and copy this static route. Let's add it to our router. Okay, and once that has been added, let's head back to our firewall and begin the configuration there.